So hello guys, I want to kind of try to make the peaks explosion, which is this one, like the Boomshroom. It's called Boomshroom, and then poison one. So I want to try making both of them. Usually when I make a tutorial, I practice it first and then make it, but I think I want to try doing it without having made already, because I've been trying to learn VFX like a little bit. So I want to see how much I've came, like how much progress I've made. Maybe I'll be able to make it nicely or not. And this is the reference that I have. So basically this is the reference that I have for this one, and then the poison one. Okay, I got the game, but again I don't have anyone to play with, so I actually refunded it because I didn't really enjoy playing alone. So I just decided to play Silk Song. I'm not going to create the 3D model. It's like very basic. It's just balls and then turned into one mesh. But let's see if I can make it. I'll also explain. And in the last video we did make a landscape, something like this. So let's reset this to the older one. So first thing first, let's create the first one, which is this Bombshroom. So let's watch it by frame. So it looks like a texture and there's a glow around it, which I think it automatically happens based on the color. And then it looks like a texture, but does it change? Does the texture change? Or is it just zooming in? It just looks like it's scaling up, but there is slight difference. Is there? I'm a bit confused if there is a slight difference or not. And maybe it's stacked, like multiple stacks of planes instead of just one, and then it gets dissolved. Let's see. And then there's a smoke at the end. So let's see if I can make this. So I know one thing, that we are going to need a Niagara system. So let's create this. Let's create an empty one. Call it Niagara system underscore explosive or something. It can be like very basic stuff. Does Unreal has a inbuilt explosive? There probably would be, right? Explosion or something. There is, but this one is like very different. And then let's open this. Now I can create an emitter in here, but I like to create it separately so that I can reuse it as a template. Let's create an empty. This is Niagara emitter, so any underscore, I don't know, explosion or whatever. Let's open this. So this is our system, this is our emitter. Instead of creating emitter in here and then having multiple in here, you can create separately like this, so that if you have multiple system, you could reuse it as a template. So let's just drag our explosion in here. Okay. Sometimes you might need to delete this and then add it again, because sometimes it just does not update when you do changes in here. So let's see. So first thing first, let's just start to we know we don't want to spawn it continuously. We only want to spawn like at start. So we need to use burst instantaneous, pretty much sure. There, and it is spawning only one. Let's hide our background. Okay. If you're using like older version, then you need to do it in a preview settings in here, hide environment, and untick this. There should be like environment options in here somewhere, or preview settings, sorry, to open this tab. But if you're using newer version, you could just do it here. Right now it's just one. So let's do is, when it spawns, how about we scale it? Or maybe do we add texture? Let's add texture first. Let's do m underscore explosion texture, or sorry, material. Let's just call tex instead of that. It should be material. Specular should be 0, roughness should be 1. Here we could simply just add a texture. So texture, text parameter 2D, there we go, explosion texture. And then we need to get particle color. So the particle color, this is nothing but whatever you add when we add this material to our system or this emitter, or whatever color we set in here would be basically just added directly. So if you set this as a red color, then it's almost like adding a constant 3 like this, and then plugging it here. Okay, like this. Why is it not looking red? Okay, there. So it's same as adding here, but instead of adding it from here, we will basically make the controls over here so that we can change it automatically around here. So we can take our particle color and then basically just plug the RGB in here. To be honest, this should be an emissive material, right? We don't really care about reflection and all. So let's just turn this into an additive. So whatever color you add, it will basically add on the background and make it unlit, because we don't want to do that. It's unlit, and then now we have emissive. So let's just add in here emissive, and this one we can just connect the R channel, or if you want you could connect like RGB, but it's black and white, so just one node is more than enough. This is going to be black and white. We know we are going to use a plane, so let's select plane to see the texture. And then I have this pack, Kenny texture. It's free pack. If you go to like Kenny's website, there's like a lot more free stuff on Kenny's website. So just look for Kenny's texture, and then there's one pack which is this one. I'll link in the description like all the websites that I use for free stuff. There's like different stuff, like there's Scorch and all that stuff. So let's just play around with some of them. Let's see what we can use. I haven't really checked anything at all. Okay, so let's just quickly, I think Scorch looks like good enough. So let's click on it, and then basically we can set this as the default. It's a parameter, right? So we should probably create a material instance, but now this is in opacity, so we only see that part. I think this is like more than enough for now. We can go to our sprite renderer, and then basically let's go to let's create a material instance, mi, so that we can test with like different texture pretty quickly. So because we created a parameter, we can basically just change the texture pretty quickly around here. It doesn't need to, like, you know, we don't need to recompile it again and again by clicking apply, so it's faster. Let's go to this stuff and click here, and mi instantaneous. Nice. Let's play so that we can see it. Why can't we see at all? What happened to the burst instantaneous? See, you could see it didn't really update, and you could see that we did the changes in here, right? Because this is where we have to set, and this is where you could override the template. So this is the template. We added this emitter, and then we can overwrite it, but we don't want to do it that way. We only want to use these values directly. So I mean, if you go to, where can we, is there a way to kind of refresh it with, like, is there a, well, it doesn't seem like it. So let's just not add this yet, and then we can add it at the end around here. So the mi explosion, there we go. We have this stuff looking, and then if we go to initialize particle, we can set a color around here. So is it here? Yeah, here. Let's do a direct set. Let's do yellowish. Which color is it? Orangish. Let's do this one. And for the brightness, we can make the value to be more, so it will basically just shine, because it like adds on top of it like this. Maybe 20 would be good enough. We will have to add it in the world and see later. This is how it looks. I do know that it scales like very quickly at start, and then it goes like slowly out. So we know that we want to go into particle update. So this particle spawn only happens at the start. This is just the emitter stuff where we spawn and all, and particle update is basically for every every frame of this particle. Is it frame or timing? I don't know. Like as we go forward, it will keep updating with these values. If we click on here, we can do scale color. So scale color will basically change the color. We want to actually change the scale of the sprite, because we are using sprite. So scale sprite size. This sprite render, you could see and we want to update, right? So as we go forward, we want to update. So you could say this is how it looks, but it's doing absolutely nothing. And the reason for that is because this is 0 and this is 1, you could see. So it's actually scaling up, but it's going from 0 scale to 1 scale. So if I do 50, nothing would show. The reason for that is because to make sure this works, let me just make it 1, by the way. To make it work, you actually need to make sure that a sprite size is given. So anything that you change in here, like rotation and UV or whatever you want to update in here, you need to actually give something around here, okay? Even for color. So let's do uniform and let's do 50. Okay, it automatically works, so we don't really need to turn this to anything. It basically goes from 0 to 50. We also want to rotate it, so sprite rotation. So how quickly does it rotate? Does it even rotate? Let's see. Let's look at it like this. It does not rotate. So we can, I mean, it does rotate a bit, I guess, but we can actually add rotation still. Sorry, sprite rotation rate. And this one will basically, let's say if I do 10, is it spinning? Yep, it's spinning a bit. So we don't want that much, but little spin would be good enough, I would say. But this is not looking like an explosion at all. This is like slowly going up. So if we go in here and we check our this, what do you call, if you press F, it will basically fit, but it is actually going from linearly up like this. So if we change this to, let's say, something like this, it will basically bounce first and then go and just stay that size for a while. You could see it's staying that while. If we do this, it will basically go up a bit and then slow. This is like slowly start, speeds up in the middle, slowly goes here. What is this? There's more option. I didn't know that. It will go up and down, but we don't want that. So let's manually do it. So let's select all this and right click and then say auto. And then I want it to go up faster. Okay, so like this. And I think it also gets a bit smaller as we go up. Let's see. Nope, it stays the same size. So if we want, we can actually make it go a bit higher. And then slowly get smaller because it's dissipating. Okay. Can I change this to, what would turn this? Okay, like this. Okay, let's try this. Don't know if it will work nicely or not. It's still looking a bit slower to me. Like, why is it going so weirdly? Let's add a key instead then here. Okay, let's make it a lot more faster. Like this. This is also way too long, I think. So let's make the emitter lifetime around here to be 2 seconds. So we did change this to 2 seconds, but this is going like way too longer. Let's see. And then it disappears around here. Is it too much time? Or is it like maybe 3 seconds looks good enough? Okay, let's do 3 seconds for now. I don't think it matters if I change this stuff or not. But yeah, it looks good. Another thing, if you click on here, we want to turn this into GPU compute sim. GPU basically means that it doesn't really exist in the world. So for example, it will not collide with anything, or it basically just does not exist. Okay, so let's just keep it GPU compute sim, and you could say it does not have dynamic bounds. We have to change it to fixed, simply because it just an what you call like a effect. We don't really want this to affect anything else. It doesn't have to collide or anything. It doesn't have to interact with anything. It just needs to be visually there. Now I want to try something. Is let's first go into our system and add this system, emitter, like this. and then it will start doing and showing us how this looks. And then we can actually drag our system. It's way too small. If you press G, you can hide this. So let's turn this to something like 200. Apply. Would this change automatically? It looks like it changed. Let's play and see how big it is. This is like way too small. It needs to be very huge. So let's make this like 500. Still very small. Needs to be I guess 1500. Yeah, so this one would basically act as a explosion, and you could say it always faces us, so that's a good thing. And what we will do is, in here, instead of spawning just one, we'll spawn some multiple. So let's do something like 5, but they're all spawning on each other. So instead of that, in the particle spawn, we'll say that here I want to spawn at different location. So we can call it as shape location, so that you could see they're spawning at different locations like this. Maybe not this difference, but 50 or something like this, and see. And we kind of start getting this effect happening. And our material, what needs to happen is, as it goes forward, we need to actually make it disappear. So we can actually do is, we can do a minus in here. So if you want to learn like what the minus does, how like shaders, basic math works, if you go to your channel, sorry, not your channel, my channel, I actually uploaded a video called VFX Fundamentals, like this one. And this one basically goes into like what plus does, what minus does, and all. So if I do minus here, and then we can say is get a particle time. So particle relative time. Okay. So what this basically means is that as our particle gets spawned, it will be 0, and at the end it will be 1. So it will go from 0 to 1 at the duration of our particle. So right now it's, let's say, so like the 0, 1, 0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, and then at the end it will be 1. So we can basically say that subtract these values. So for example, this one, if I add here and then add to my opacity, we are subtracting 0, right? So no changes, because anything subtract is nothing. If I do 0.1, you could see somewhat changes has happened, because what we basically did was, we basically did minus of 0.1 in these values. Black and white is just 0 to 1 values. Okay, please watch that video if you don't understand this shader maths. It's very basic stuff, but as we increase this value, we can create a dissolve effect like this. Okay, so if I add this relative time in here, as it goes 0 to 1, let's see what happens. So we get a dissolve effect, but I think it's happening way too fast, and we cannot control this relative time, because at the start it's going to be 0, at the end it's going to be 1. So instead of that, how about we create our own curve that actually subtracts it based on the timing. Okay, and for that we have dynamic parameter. You see it's red in color. Basically it means that it's a particle related stuff, and we have options of like adding four parameters in here. Okay, doesn't matter what it is, but this parameter we can call it as dissolve. You could name it anything. Okay, we are just naming it so that we know, and then this would basically add the value in here, or whatever value we get here, we will basically subtract that from here. But because it's a dynamic one, we can manually control it. So let's do this, and I'm also going to increase the shape location. I don't like how small it is. And you could see that it's not actually doing, it's not actually working. And that the reason is because this dissolve one, we can say it's in the R channel, right? R, it's basically same as adding a scalar parameter. Okay, but instead of having 4 scalar parameters like this, we just get this one dynamic parameter that you could add in your what you call particles. And this parameter, the first one is r channel, is basically this value. So what we are currently doing by default is we are minusing 1. You could say it says r1. So obviously if you minus 1 from this value, it will be always be black, because this values only exist from 0 to 1. So the maximum value in this black and white texture is 1. So 1 minus 1 is 0, and then 0.5 minus 1 is 0.5. So it doesn't really matter what you add if it's 0, or sorry, if it's 1. And if I turn 0, it's basically saying as adding 0, like this, okay. And then now we should see our explosion again. If I play this, you could see, we can see it. Does it look better if we do? And I think it would look better if we rotate it a bit, like not rotate in this way, but in the other axis too, and all of them just spinning in the same direction. I don't like that. That's one reason why it's looking weird. So let's do one thing. Let's add a randomization. Okay, so each of these particles should have random ones. So let's add a random range float. Then we could do like 15 to 30. So each one would rotate like a different way. Or let's do 0 to 30. So some of them are rotating for 0, and like some of them are rotating more. And then we can basically in the particle update, because we want to change as it goes forward, right? Wait, did I accidentally add it here? We don't want to add it here. We want to do it in the emitter so that we have a template. I should do it again. Okay, if you change here, we are basically overwriting the template, and if we add here, it's basically the default template, so that we can reuse it again and again. So let me add this again. So range float 30. Okay, then shape location is 100. That's okay. Let's add dynamic, because we want it to change every single frame or every single time as the particle updates. The dissolve is, let's say, 0. So if I add like this, it basically does this. Okay, let's try doing 0 float from curve, and this one is basically us controlling it. So by default, this is the relative time. Okay, so it goes from 0 to 1, but what we want is more control. So let's turn this into our own control. I want it to not do anything for a while, so let's add another key in here. Let's make this 0, or we can make it 0.2. Wait, 0. It shouldn't go below this thing. Why is it going below? If it goes below, it will look weird like this. The safe way we can avoid happening that, because the reason why that happens is some of the values are 0, like this is 0 around here, and if we do 0 minus 0.5, it turns to minus 0.5. We don't want that. So we can add a saturate node, and what this does is that it clamps. Okay, if you want to use clamp, you could use that too. It will basically clamp values from 0 to 1. So anything that is below 0 would basically turn to 0. Anything that is above 1 would turn to 1. Let's see if that actually makes it better around here. Nope. Let's, it shouldn't go below. That's the problem. Is there a way to fix it quickly? Let's do linear. Okay, let's do linear, and then we can turn this to auto. Okay, and I can make it slightly above, so that maybe 0.1 is 0.15, 0.01, 0.02, 0.02, 0.05. We can also like randomize it if we want this values too. I think so. Is it possible to randomize this? I'm not sure, because I don't see any way to do it. And you can see how this looks, where it goes up and then goes smaller. To be honest, I think it just looks better with doing this as 0. So for a while it does not change anything, and then it starts to get lower and lower at the end. And part of me wants it to like not keep it like this, but rather have it turned. So right now, because it's a sprite, it will always face us. You could see it will always face us. Do we want to change that? How about we change and add like more? Let's see if adding more this one would change. Maybe shape location would be bigger and see. The explosion is also like way too huge now. So yeah, you could see now it's a bit more spread nicely, and then you could actually walk, and then it looks like a, because it's now spread a bit. Wait, it still rotates to me if I stop the game. Okay, I thought it would actually get paused. It looks good to me. Like all it requires is changing the material to something that would work nicely. But there needs to be a smoke at the end, right? So probably another emitter that we can add. We can actually just add this same emitter again, like again this one, but this time we will override some values. So we will turn this to, I guess, white, like a bit darker. We can actually hide this for now so that we can see how this looks. And then probably this one would require like a different material, because this one does not look good. This one should last a bit longer. Shape location, we can actually reduce this stuff to something like 10. Shape location would be good to 200, so that it's not that much. Let's try it. It's way too small though, right? Why is it so small? Is it because of the shape location? Let's see. So I think we can actually change the timings, right? I've seen people change this. I don't know how they do it. Like this is the confusing part to me. I thought I could just move it front and back like this. If I want to move it front, I should be able to move it, right? Is it not possible? Like play this a bit at the end like this, like delay a bit. Okay, so I accidentally moved this keyframe at the end. That's why it was not showing. You could see there's a small keyframe that you could click and then move. So it was basically starting very late. Let's see how this looks for their game. There's this white smoke that is still not white. I mean, it's their color. Like it's still orangish, like this. But it looks a bit different. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to try with different material. Okay, I'm pretty much sure this can be improved even more by iterating over it and adding more stuff. Why is this smoke? Wait, guys. Why is this smoke not looking good? Why does this had to be 1000 and then this one needs to be 1500? Oh, this one is like 1500. That's why. Let's see. Yep, that looks way better. So let's check our different texture if that works nicely. That's why we create material instance, so that we can quickly change and test. If you want, you could create another material instance so that we have a different texture for the smoke. This looks more like an explosion. They also do a fade out. That is also very easy to do, fade out, but I do like this one more, where it just disappears like this, and then this one stays and then slowly goes. And how fast it disappears is based on this texture, okay? How much white value there is, how much black value there is. If you just add the sound, it would look like insanely well, okay? So that's really important. If I create this star, let's see how this looks. I like how it turned out. It's not perfectly as theirs, but this is where my skills come, or where my skills are. There should be a light renderer around here. So if we go in here, I can add a light renderer, maybe around here. Light renderer. It needs to be a CPU sim for a light renderer, okay? Because it actually exists now in the world. If you want, you could actually add it here, or basically try to add like in your blueprint or somewhere, whichever works best for you. Let's turn to CPU sim and then dynamic, and then we should be able to add our light. I think it automatically uses the color that is added by that effect. So I'm just turning the light off to see if it even shows. There is light, there is slight light happening. You could see. Maybe I think we have to add like, does it, I think it has to be like this, where we add the light. Also, why can I see in the ground? Okay, because I was up below the ground. So I don't know how to increase the light. So light power, I've already set it to be like so much. Is it not? It says color add. So I doubt it is this thing. It cannot be this stuff, right? Like it cannot be 500 and then it basically turns that to. It seems to be based on the value, like this one, but it's way too dark. I don't like that. So how about we do one more thing that we can actually help to kind of make it look better is, in a particle update we could do scale color, and we need to have a color set here, else it does not work. We could scale the RGB if we want, so kind of fade out if we want. So float from curve, and then I'll do this one where at the end it fades, not at the start. And for the scale RGB we need to do I forgot it was make vector from linear color RGB. Okay, and then we can do is color from curve, so it will go from this to this. So this one would be the same color as this one, which is going to be 500. Let's see if it works. The first color is going to be our this one with 500. So is it correct color? Nope. Why is it not correct color? Let me change this to red and see if that does anything. I'm not sure why it's showing me green color if I do like this stuff. Something to do with this one. Nope. Such a weird. If I turn this to pink, it shows the right color, but then it does not show the right color. I think I have to just turn this to like the default color for that to work. Yeah, it should be white, I think. So the first initial color should be white if we want to do this. And then basically 500, let's see. It should be reddish. Slowly, we will quickly make this be, I guess, 200. So it quickly gets lower color. And then at the end, we can just keep it like same one, like this. So it will quickly, it doesn't show the right colors in here because we're using higher value. but maybe it just disappears like this. So you could see it looks like an explosion. How about we change the texture to be the default one and see. This one just does not look like an it looks explosion at the end, but not at the start. Like this one does not look good. It pretty much depends on the texture that we use. Okay, so if we use a good texture, it should look nicer. This one is actually dirt, but I do like how this looks, which is weird. It does not look like explosion, so we cannot use that. This one also does not look good. You could do is you could use the smoke texture for the second part, and then the first, like for this emitter, you could use the smoke, create like a one more material instance, and then use the smoke one, and the first one use the first one, like this texture, which would be, I think, better option. I'm just going to add this. Whatever, let's just keep it this way. I think it's good enough. Based on the texture, it would look even better. I'm gonna try creating a blueprint so that we can actually get exploded by it. So bp underscore explosive, something like this. Let's open it. Let's see if it works nicely or not. I'm gonna turn to low because my PC might not be able to handle. So I know we are going to need a static mesh. We are going to need a collision so that we can collide and then decide if we want to explode or not. Sphere would be good enough, I think. That's all we need. And for static mesh, you can temporarily use a sphere. It's way too huge. I don't like how huge it is, but let's see by adding in the world. It's not that huge in the world. So we just need to make the sphere radius be bigger. I will also make it hidden in game to be disabled so that we can see in the level how big it is. So if we get this close, it will explode. Obviously play around with this value so that it slightly just covers like this. Let's do is on collide. So let's do on sphere. Not this way. Let's do sphere and then add on begin overlap. Like this, we want to do some explosion, so we can basically add our emitter in here. So Niagara system, and this one would have our explosive, and you could say it's already working automatically. We don't want that, so let's disable the auto. I also don't want it to play again and again, so we can go in here and then do once. It will basically just play only once and then just not do anything. Okay, so if we do in here, you could see it's not looping again. The way you could make it loop is by, I guess, reset. Yeah, in the new version, I think we don't have in the old version, I think, reset option, so you have to like unclick this if you're using older version. So we got this, but we want to make sure it does not auto activate. Okay, because if we do that, then it will automatically just start here. We don't want that, so we will do on, okay, what the hell just happened? So on our overlap, you could do something like a hashtag for good practice, so that it does not explode for everything else. If you want, you could create it that someone can throw stuff on here or not, but it's good to do in a way that soft references are used instead of hard references, so no casting and all, and not for everything. For this purpose, I'll just do a tag, so if the opposite thing has the tag player, it will only do that. Okay, or you could even add like explosive target or something like that, just random stuff, so that it knows that it will only work if the opponent has this tag. To make sure this works, we actually need to give our player this tag. Let's do that later, but to just show you guys if you are not familiar with it, this is a good way to do it, because we are not doing any casting, we are not storing the player character and all. We just don't know what the overlapping stuff would be. When something overlaps, it will check if that has the tag, and then only it will work this this true stuff. Okay, so that way we don't create any hard references. It's a good practice to do it this way. Then for true, we will basically just take our Niagara system and we'll do run activate, like activate. Okay, let's see if this is going to work. So when we do this, we will activate this, and then if we want, we can actually just disable the collision or get destroyed or something like this, because as soon as it gets activated once, we actually have to make sure this does not work again. Because if you do that, then let's say two players are there, then one goes in, it explodes, second goes in, it explodes again. We don't want that. We want it to only happen once. If you want, you could do another thing which is called like do once, like this, so that it only happens once. But it would be good to just disable this collision. As soon as this happens one time, it would be better to just disable this collision and then basically destroy. Set collision to be no collision, like this. I think it's better to do this, and then after the explosion is happened, we can destroy it. But I'm not going to do that here. Let's just try if this works. So right now it will not work, because you can see I went in here, but it didn't work. The reason is because my player does not have the tag that we just made. So I'm just going to go into my first person character. I think it's using this one by default. It would be like whatever character that you're using. There's like a lot more random stuff that I added for practice, and we just need to go in here and then give it the tag, this one, in actor tags. What's the tag name? I forgot. Let's copy this and paste it. Let's do compile, and then it should work, and you could see it worked. But ignore if it does this this weird stuff. Okay, it's already added in my player character. But you could see it did explode, but we should play a sound in here. It would be better if you do like some different way to do play sound, because we don't want the further people to hear it. If you do this, then no matter where you are in the map, you will still hear this. So it's better to use sound stuff and then making it have like a what you call like a proximity. Let's see if I have something for explosion. You know what, whatever, let's just use this. Let's play. Let's wait for it, and if I go close, if I touch this, boom, it just exploded. And then you could add impulse, or you could enable the ragdoll and all that stuff. Okay, so if I go in, boom, and then my whole screen is this, and you could see I've already done it once, so it does not explode, so we have to disable this. There would be a better way to make it look like even nicer, but this is where my skills lead basically. So the next thing I will be trying to make is the poison one. So I want to just try first if just changing color makes it look something like this. It could be the same effect, just with different texture. So let's try this, else we will have to make something different. Let me go into our, I don't even remember where it is in my this stuff. Yep, there we go. Let's try changing color. Not this one, but rather the explosion color. There we go. So let's do it in here. Let's overwrite it. Or you know what, let's copy paste this and hide this, so that we have a backup of the orange color one. This one again doesn't matter, but this one is this pinkish hue. Is that the right word? Pinkish hue. It's a darkish pinkish hue. What color is that actually? It's hard to tell. Is it this way? Let me just turn everything to like a one single color so we don't have this weird glitchiness happening. It's still happening. What color is that? That's, the best way to do it is by just grabbing it from here. Did copy, it did copy. Let's paste it in here. Let's add it without any glowiness because it's not an explosion, right? It is way too dense in there. Like in their version, it's way too dense. And the only way I could think of changing that is to not use a additive or maybe adding this. Would that look weird if I add this? Yeah, because right now what happens is we are using the material with an additive. So whatever color we use, it adds it to the background. So what it's green plus whatever color it is in here. So if we check this one, if I do reset, it's whatever color it's in the background and then it basically adds it. I think it's good for explosion, but this type of stuff, I think it still has the opacity though. So should we go with translucent material? It's so confusing. The color around here looks nicer, but it does not look the same around here. Let's hide this stuff and see. Let's try turning this into a opaque and then I guess default lit. Actually, we need to use translucent. It would basically increase the translucent basically requires more processing power, but again we do not run this constantly, so it's okay. And it also depends on like how much you use and what it's available in here. So for the opacity, I think this is good enough, but this one needs to go to base color. Let's apply. Probably no emissive color, just base color. Let's try both, why not? Let's do reset. And this one kinda has that, cover like this stuff. Let's try with not having the emissive color. Yeah, this looks way better and like lot more like that explosion. The reason why the curve does not look the same as this curves is simply because of the texture that we are using. So if you make a texture which has the nice shape and just practice with or try with different shapes, it might look better like this edges. Let's go into our explosion. Let's try adding our noise again, smoke again, and the smoke color is different. So let's go, and where is it? So this one needs to be, I don't know, what color should we use? Do we even want to use a color in here? Yeah, we want to use the same color as this one. So let's try this one. Let's go and add it to our smoke, but this one needs to be a bit lighter. So this one stays there for a while. So what we can do is we can actually place this second smoke behind this smoke, and because we are using like a plane which is like not additive, it will not be visible. So this one, because we have changed the material to be translucent, it can still be visible, I think. Let's just try it. I am not sure. Is it in the renderer? Let's see. Sort order hint, there we go. So let's do 1, and you could see that this one is like on top of it and the smoke still exists behind it because this one has 0 here. So let's see. Okay, it does not, there is a weird, it shouldn't really pop out like this. I think I should just fade this one, the top one, and then this one should basically just disappear like this. So it's your choice. You could make this one be fade out. I don't know why fade out is not working. If anybody can tell me, that would be good. But let's just try. If I go in here, it explodes and then I'm just in the smoke area. Let's try again. Let's wait for this to disappear. If I go in, boom, I'm in this smoke, and then if I go out, it's better. But if I go in here, like this. So yeah, that's how I would make it. I know they have probably made it like even better way, maybe. But again, this is like what my knowledge till now tells me how to make this. But if I learn a better way in future, I will make videos on it. So yeah, thanks for watching.